Good evening. Welcome to the joint meeting of the Oconee County Board of Commissioners and the Oconee County Board of Education. Today is Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. After a moment of silence, we're going to ask Chuck Horton to lead us in the pledge. So please stand. Join me with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so our first item of business will be for the Board of Commissioners to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
A motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I call the Board of Education side to order. We also need to approve the agenda, and I need a motion to do so.
So moved.
Mr. Tool,
Second.
second. Mr. Hammack. All in favor? Passes 5-0.
All right, so this is a big day for Oconee County, a joint meeting between the Board of Commissioners and Board of Education. Here to approve an agreement for the citizens of Oconee County supported by both boards. So really big day. A lot of time and was required to get this, get us to this point. I thank Sheriff Hale for all the work. He put in many, many hours. Also Chair Ransom. We spent a lot of time on the phone and meeting. So thank you very much for all that time. So we're here to discuss and consider the agreement for the school resource officers between the Oconee County Sheriff, the Oconee County Board of Commissioners, and the Oconee County School District. This is an agreement for a school resource officer program. So it's not just security guards. This is a program. Sections 1 and 2 were policy related and they were negotiated by the two chairmen. Section 3 and 4 were more operational and they were negotiated by the superintendent staff and the sheriff's office, with the exception of 3.2.4, which deals with operational assignments when school's not in session, which is an agreement between the sheriff and the Board of Commissioners. Sections 5 through 7, again, policy and budgeting were negotiated between the chairman. And then sections 8 through 12 were with the legal teams on each side. So just a brief summary of the agreement. This is a SRO program with up to 16 deputies in order to have one SRO in each of the 12 schools. Sheriff Hale can begin recruiting for these positions tonight after passage. Just so everybody understands, this is not an overnight program of getting that many people into jobs. Recruiting law enforcement is very difficult right now. But as quickly as he can do it, I guarantee you he's going to do it. Reimbursement for the program costs will occur at least monthly. Cost share will be 90% between the Board of Education, 10% for the Board of Commissioners. The first term of this agreement will run through February 2026, and annual renewals will occur unless either party or any of the parties give a 30-day notice. And then at any time, any party can offer a 60-day notice to terminate the agreement. So that's all I got to say on it.
Okay. Mr. Cofer, would you please present for the Board of Ed?
Good evening, board members. Board members, on September 16th, you authorized the superintendent collaborate with Sheriff Hale to develop an agreement that would establish a comprehensive law enforcement presence at all 12 of our schools. In October, we shared an update on our research of MOUs, and at our November meeting, we presented a draft MOU for your review. That MOU was revised in collaboration with the Sheriff's Office and formally approved by you on December 9th, when you then requested official action from both the Sheriff's Office and the Board of Commissioners. Discussions between the Board of Education, the Board of Commissioners, the superintendent and his team, and the sheriff and his staff have resulted in the MOU that is before each of you today. The agreement prioritizes the safety and security of students, faculty, and staff by assigning deputies to serve as SROs at each of our schools, as well as provides 4 command staff to support the 12 deputies assigned to the schools for a total of 16 deputies working under the SRO program. The agreement also ensures that the sole focus of the deputies remains the protection of our students and staff, as they will not be called upon for other law enforcement needs during the school day, but rather SROs will work for the sheriff's office at least 25 days out of the year during times that school is not in session. The selection criteria for SROs contains 11 qualifications to ensure that they are highly qualified with prior law enforcement experience, specialized training and skills suited for working with young people and educators. The agreement establishes clear roles and responsibilities through the inclusion of 21 detailed duties that preserve the educational mission of our schools while allowing SROs to focus on law enforcement and crime prevention, as well as fostering positive relationships with our school community and students. The terms of the current MOU would be effective until February 2026, provide for an annual automatic renewal thereafter unless either party provides written notice of its intent not to renew at least 30 days prior to the expiration of the current term. An estimate of the full cost of the program will be provided by the Board of Commissioners to the Board of Education by April 1st of the then current fiscal year, with a final cost of the program submitted on or before May 1st. These dates align with the Board of Education's budgetary process and allow time for appropriate financial planning. The agreement calls for Oconee County Schools to cover 90% of the total cost of the program, to include personnel cost, normal equipment and capital cost, including such items as cars, radios, vests, uniforms, and other normal equipment, as well as the maintenance and operating cost of such equipment. The Board of Commissioners will cover the remaining 10%. The estimated cost for implementing this program from today through June of this year is a cost of up to $1,391,282, assuming the program was fully staffed. The requested amount for the Board of Education's portion is $1,252,153. The estimated cost for FY26, our first full year of implementation, is $2,482,563, with the requested amount for the Board of Education's portion being $2,234,307, assuming a fully staffed SRO program of 16 deputies. This agreement not only enhances security across all schools, but also strengthens relationships between law enforcement and our school communities. And this partnership underscores this community's collective dedication to creating a safe, thriving, and vibrant learning environment where all students can excel. This concludes our remarks unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Carver.
Sir.
Just a couple clarifications. The agreement calls to go forward through June of 2026, which would be roughly all the way through the next fiscal year. And the cost for FY26 will be reported in May, with the final return.
Thank
you. That's it.
Mhm.
All right, we'd like to ask Sheriff Hale to come up and talk about the program he's working on.
Board members, thank you for having me here tonight. This has been a long process, and it's been a process that I'm proud to say that my staff, myself, the staff of the school board, the school system, the collaboration between the three entities. I don't know that there's a family quite as big as this family sitting right here. And I believe that with all of my being, that we are one big family. And here in Oconee County, I think we do it different than everybody else because we are different than everybody else. My job as the sheriff is to secure this county. Okay. Your job is to help me do so. I believe that, and I believe that being able to do that and work collaborative between the school system and the county commissioners is honestly my goal. When I first became sheriff, was wanting to be the guy that kind of stood in the middle and helped out both sides. I think that this process itself started out probably back in 2001 when Sheriff Berry assigned me to be the school safety liaison between the sheriff's office and the school system. And we worked every year from that year forward. Something has improved with school safety every single year between the sheriff's office and the school system. I don't think anybody can be lost on the fact that our schools are very safe. We have very good people that live here in this county. We have a lot of things going on. Obviously, September of this past year changed things for us. Back door, right outside in our backyard is where something like this happened. I don't believe that we're here to react to things anymore. We got to be here to be proactive. And one of my goals in this program here is to have one of those deputies in every one of the schools, have them trained in behavioral threat assessment. along in conjunction with the school systems, staff and faculty there to be able to prevent these things from happening. We're good at reacting to it. That's over with in the first 10 minutes. We want to deal with it years and days and months before it actually happens and try to find out what we can do to steer kids in the right direction, steer families in the right direction, to build resiliency in those kids, so they can come to school to learn and not have to worry about whether or not something bad is going to happen at school. That's our job. That's what we're here to do. And I believe that having the 16 personnel, making sure that we have backups to somebody, deputies, I have shifts right now that, there's probably only 5 people working on a shift because one of them's out on maternity leave and one of them's out on sick leave. So somebody's got to fill in for those positions. And so that's why the 16 are there. And it's just part of the process, and creating an entire division at the sheriff's office, which, is going to be well ran, and doing it right the first time instead of coming back in a couple of years and trying to fix what we didn't get right. As part of the process getting here, I'm going to have to quote my friend over here, Mr. Toole. Earlier today, we spoke about this, and people don't understand that behind the scenes, while we all look like ducks, they don't see our feet under that water kicking like crazy. So, we have worked really hard at this, and I greatly appreciate the support from both sides, Board of Education and the Board of Commissioners, for making this happen. Thank y'all.
Sure.
Any of the board members have any questions for anything related to the agreement?
I have a comment. I just wanted to say, one of the newer faces up here just a few weeks ago, I was a constituent, I wasn't a board member, and I always wanted to see my governments work together because I always felt like that would benefit me as a constituent, it would benefit me as a taxpayer. And I'm so proud of what we're doing here today, and I just want to take a moment to celebrate what's happening because I hope this is not a flash in the pan. I hope this is the beginning of a spirit of goodwill and a relationship where we can continue to collaborate and work together, because at the end of the day, when we collaborate, that benefits the taxpayers, it benefits our constituents, and I think that's an important thing for us to do. I do have a clarifying question for Sheriff Hale about the 16 officers. We've been talking about this a lot, and I wasn't a part of the first MOU that was approved by the board because I wasn't on the board yet, but it's my understanding that the first request was maybe for 12 SROs, and that went up to 16, which of course made the costs go up and things like that, which based on the reasoning you gave me, I understand why, but I was just wondering if you could share a little more about that.
Sure. So you have 12 schools, you have one deputy at each one of those schools. And if we sign an MOU that we're going to supply that one deputy per school and one of them calls out sick, well, where am I going to get the one that's going to replace that one on that daily basis? Somebody calls out sick with the flu, they're out for a week. So am I going to pull that from the patrol division to take him off from answering the call of service over here for the alarm call at Walmart for the umpteenth 11th time just to put him in the school? Or am I going to make sure that I have enough people to start with to fill in that gap in case that happens? So that's where the 16, the 4 command staff come from. One of the things that start from the top going down to the bottom, the captain's position is already pretty much in place. So I have one person who's already wearing 2 or 3 hats because of what I'm asking him to do for the school safety portion of it, teaching all of the faculty and staff every year to make sure they're up to speed on trends that are, making sure the teachers are prepared, faculty and staff are prepared for dealing with a situation that may arise at the schools. That's one of the things, that's his main job. Also, he coordinates with other entities in the county to make sure that we do the lockdown drills. He schedules the training, make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. Then, of course, being that we are a paramilitary organization, we have to have rank and structure. So in that rank, you have supervisors that come into play to make sure that everyone below them is doing what they're supposed to do. So it all comes into play. You have field training officers. They're going to be assigned to the schools, but if I have a new SRO that has to come in and learn how to do the job, that field training officer is going to be responsible for making sure that they do the job correctly. So, and to make sure that they fit. So that's where the 16 comes from. You have 12 schools, right, but you have to have that command and structure, that staff to make sure that everyone's where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there. I know we're all adults, but you still have to make sure somebody's a supervisor. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. It's obviously a very thorough and strong plan. And as a parent, I appreciate hearing that because at the end of the day, we've talked about this multi-pronged approach. It's not just about SROs, it's about that social worker piece, and about the technology in the schools as well. That's a big part of this. So thank you for everything you did to make that happen.
I'd like to add one more thing to that too. So if you think you have 12 schools, you have one individual SRO assigned to that school, that SRO is going to be a part of that behavioral health type thing. So they're going to help identify, they're going to mentor students, they're going to work along with the principal and the APs, the counselors, everyone, in order to make sure that the environment there at that school is a safe learning environment. And also to be able to identify at-risk kids. There may not be a kid that makes a threat to a school while they're at school. They may make it at home, but then that SRO is going to be there to facilitate the law enforcement aspect into the school in an environment that works for the schools as well. So that way we can bring it up. Now, then you have the captain that's there, and he's on our, what we would call the district team, so to speak, that comes to the table with some of those school counselors and psychologists to talk to about in our meetings there, to talk about what we can do to build in some resiliency. So that is staff it with resources pretty much. So that's what we're trying to do with the numbers too.
Not on another, so the school shooting in Appalachia occurred on September 4th. James was on the phone with me on September 5th.
Yep.
Talking about implementing the program. It was 16 that day. It's been 16 continuous through. Our first meeting with Mr. Ransom and I was on October 4th. So the whole time it's been consistent with 16.
So, yeah, and that number's been there for several years. When we talk every year as to what it would look like if we were to try to implement something, that's how we were able to go ahead and put one in each high school right at the day of, really the day after Appalachia took place, was because we took an entire division that we had created for our traffic unit, and we took those and put them in the schools. So having to backfill some of those positions is what's going to be the kind of the challenge right now, is to backfill the positions that we have on patrol to get those SROs into the schools. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but we're on it.
Oh, Dalton, to also thank you for acting that quick. And I know we've come up with an MOU and there's money involved, but just so the public understands, the county commission never asked for any money from the BOE to do what he had to do, to put those deputies where they needed to be. Money had nothing to do with it. I've got 2 grandkids at Rocky Branch. I don't want anything like that to happen to anybody's child. So I applaud you for what you did, and you knew we were standing behind you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I have a lot of family in this county, and half of them are in the schools or teaching in the schools or nieces and nephews. And so I'm pretty invested in this. All 4 of my kids have come through the Oconee school system. So very much invested in it. So, any more questions?
I'll make a comment though. I want to say, just to echo a lot of the things that you said and what else has been said, that I think we all viewed this as a very important partnership. And because we saw in Barrow County that it doesn't just affect the schools, it affects everybody in the community in a very tragic way. And I think some models that we had looked at earlier, just from the Board of Education point of view, were different. But as you've alluded here, and as you communicated to us, we're Oconee County, and we're trying to do something different, and not trying to just throw something at the wall and fill a need, but build it the right way. And I think that's important. And I thank you for doing that. And I know from way back when I first got on the board that you were involved with school safety back then, and we've had a great partnership, school system and the sheriff's office, forever. So I feel very confident that you have the knowledge and the expertise to move this forward in the right way. And I thank our commissioners for being on board and doing this with us.
Thank you.
No other questions or comments. We'll open up for public comment. If you do come up for comment, we ask for your name and address, and don't feel like you got to talk more than a couple minutes. Come on up, Mr. House.
I'm Stephen L. Shero of the county. These are kind of questions that I don't expect people to say from the bench. But when, it sounds like the school resource officers will be assigned sort of semi-permanently to a place. And I kind of wonder about familiarity and complacency. The other comment is enforcement of basically laws. Let's say that the kids are smoking and they're smoking pot out back. How's that going to affect, the whole situation as opposed to the way it currently is? Not that I have a child in this right now. We haven't for 20 years. So rotation, continuing ed, you kind of alluded to that, where there will be someone who goes around and says, this is the latest, greatest bath salt, or this is the latest, greatest whatever, and that's the way you'll handle that. And then the other thing is that you have assignment of one person per school, and just on a statistical basis, rare events occur rarely. So even if you only had 10, rare events occur rarely. Thank you.
Any other public comments? With that, we'll move into, go on, okay, yes, ma'am.
My name is Angela Martin. I spoke at a board meeting, Board of Education meeting, so I've met some of you already. My address is 1820 Wild Azalea Lane, and I'm familiar with the policy 2 procedures for speaking. Almost 2 years ago, I was first made aware of the lack of SROs, and not only was it a surprise to me, it was a surprise to most people that I talked to. Other parents in the school system had not realized that we did not have SROs. Unfortunately, in that case, Nashville made us painfully aware of that. Since then, Appalachia has made us aware again that we do not have SROs. I sought to understand why that was, why we didn't have SROs, and then also how policy is affected in our local school system. And a lot of that was just kind of trudging through and asking question after question. The door was closed multiple times by multiple people, leaders within the school system. However, a lot of us were still looking for that next open door. And that at the time was calling some different other Beacon SRO programs within our state that are very similar to Oconee. And what I found is that leaders of those SRO programs were not only willing to talk to me about it, but they were eager to talk to me about it, and they were proud of their SRO programs. I hope that, the jobs get posted tonight, which is so exciting. A lot of us have asked for a timeline, and so now we have that timeline. We know that it's going to be tonight, and we're thrilled to hear that. Thank you for the work. I know a lot of what y'all do is thankless, and so I want to take the opportunity to say thank you for your time. When I talked to Buford Chief of Police, Mindy Bayruther, she mentioned that her daughter had been a student teacher at Oconee, and she was shocked because her daughter had also been at Union County and experienced a hard lockdown as a teacher there. And we never know when those moments are going to happen. And she was just so willing to help because, again, she had seen the benefit. Habersham, president of GASRO, the Georgia SRO Association, Murray Kogod, Chief Murray Kogod, told me that the reason they have their SRO program is because safety is their #1 priority. And I'm excited that we can all say that today, that safety is our #1 priority. We're implementing this program. They talked about response times, and while response times are very important, they were excited to share that most of their response times were under a minute. The preventative functions are the most important, and I'm glad to hear that that's being talked about and discussed because SROs provide a whole host of things that I didn't realize that they did until kind of making those phone calls. But again, I hope that we can be excited about this move and that we can one day have pride in our SRO program. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to follow up on Angela's comments with a comment of my own. And I appreciate you and your passion about this issue and all the parents out there who have really kept this flame alive over the years. And that passion underscores what I think many of us want, which is SROs in the school and ASAP. But as you compared us to other counties, I feel like this is a speak now or forever hold your peace moment. So I'm going to do that. As much as I think this is a solid program and I'm going to vote yes tonight, and I think we should get these SROs ASAP, I'm not in love with the funding structure for this. If we compare other counties around us, it's much more of a 50-50 split. And I think both sides in this, from the county side and the schools side, have a vested interest in supporting that. And, you know, it goes back to what I said at the beginning of this, which is smart government. I think our taxpayers are the most important thing here, not what's right for us, what's right for you. You win, I win. That's not the focus here. It's more about the taxpayers. So I think the schools should share more of that burden. I'm not saying it should be 50-50, but I certainly think as we compare to other school districts, it would be great if, as we look toward the future and as we carry the spirit of goodwill and collaboration, we could look at having a larger buy-in from both sides.
So what I'd say to that is when you look at the document that's created from, I guess, the RISA, 14 school systems, based on what was written here, there's only 3, well, there were 2, but the third one has gone 50-50 since then. So only 21% of the whole group is at a 50-50. The ones that don't specify what the percentage is, I guess we assume is 100%. That's 43% of the schools in the RISA. And some other combination is 36% counting up. The school security you've experienced over the years has been totally funded by the Board of Commissioners, and none of that goes away. And we're also not allocating any costs related to the investigations division, which comes in a lot of times to carry things through. We have a whole 911 system that monitors your emergency response system, your cameras, communicating to the deputies when things are happening, bring in other resources, fire rescue, ambulance. So there are a lot of expenses. Even the amount of time that the sheriff and the chief deputy spend on this program are not allocated out either. I do think we at least have an objective way to look at the 90-10 split, in my opinion, the way we roll it out. So I think it's a great split. So.
Yeah, I appreciate all those comments. As far as the RISA comparisons go, if we don't have a split, it doesn't necessarily mean it's 100% schools or whatever. We can assume that, but if we don't have the split, we just don't know that. But, you know, I think it's great that the sheriff's office is going to get some incredible infrastructure built out because of this. And that's going to come because of money that is earmarked and anticipated for schools and for school safety. So, you know, the county is getting something out of this, and I think that's a great thing. So that's why I think everybody has some skin in the game.
So actually, the infrastructure is already in place. Like I said, we've been doing it for years.
But there's money for new equipment and new
They will be used by
people.
the SROs at 90% of the time that they're active on duty. 10% will be in the county based on our agreement. So, like I said, it's an objective way of looking at it. I don't know. You can talk to Bear County, for instance, on their 50-50 split. There are a lot of reasons that ended up being 50-50 split because there were some other expenses were being carried on by the communities. So it's hard to tell, but 43% are something other than 53 or 50-50. There's only 21% of the whole RISA, 3 counties out of 14 that are a 50-50 split. And again, what we're creating here is totally different, in my opinion, from what any other county has. I'm sure if you stacked yourself up against any of these other counties, you'd say you're miles ahead of them, right? And we're saying the same thing for the SRO program.
Absolutely. And again, I'm not saying we should do 50-50. I think 70-30, something in that spirit would be something good to work toward. But I support this plan today. I think this is a good plan to get it going, and I'm looking forward to working and collaborating with commissioners in the future as we can help each other out and in turn help taxpayers out. I think that's important.
All right, commissioners, with that, we'll entertain a motion to adopt the agreement for school resource officers between the Oconee County Sheriff, the Oconee County Board of Commissioners, the Oconee County School District, and to approve all necessary budget amendments to make that program happen.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve the agreement between the 3 parties for the SRO program.
With the budget amendments.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and second to approve the agreement with all the necessary budget amendments to make the program happen. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Board members, as requested, we've prepared the MOU and would recommend approval at this time.
Need a motion to do so?
So. Second.
Mr. Tool, Mr. Hammack, all in favor? Passes 5-0.
Awesome. With that, I think we'll just go ahead and sign up.
Yep.
Jennifer, would you like to sign? Mr. Saxon,
Motion is adjourned.
do we have a second? Second. We are adjourned.
Board of Education, we need a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Tool,
Second.
Mr. Hammack, we are adjourned.
Jane, we'll get a picture with you.